Hey guys, it's Robyn and welcome back for another super fun cake tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to make a cake based on the very popular new Netflix cartoon, Trash Truck. So if you have any littles in your house who absolutely love this cartoon and no other birthday cake will do, stay tuned because I'm going to be showing you how you can make your very own Trash Truck cake too. So let's get into it. So before I begin assembling this cake, I've filled an extra large piping bag full of some vanilla American buttercream because we have lots of layers of cake to fill and we want to build this cake up nice and tall, so we're going to be adding lots of nice thick layers of that buttercream. So we're just going to begin by piping a small amount of buttercream onto our cake board and smoothing that out so we have a bit of a glue for our cake to stick to. Then we're going to take that first layer of cake and stick that into place, and we're going to be using 4 7 by 11-inch cake layers to build it. So when filling our icing layers, to keep things nice and clean, I first piped a nice thick border all the way around my cake layer before filling in the space in between. Now, it did take quite a lot of icing to frost each of these layers, and my bag was emptied several times, so you're going to want to make sure that you have lots of buttercream. So for this cake, I mixed up 3 batches of my easy American buttercream, and I will leave a link to that video in the eye up above for anybody who wants to try out that recipe. Now, before you add your next layer of cake, you want to be sure to smooth out that buttercream because you want your cake to stack up nice and even, and you don't want any air bubbles to form between your cake and your frosting. Okay, now once your cake is fully stacked and your last layer is in place, it's time to clean up all this buttercream. So I'm just going to take my small offset spatula and go all around the outside just to clean up any excess there might be. So once you have that taken care of, it's time to do some measuring. So whenever you bake a cake, they actually shrink a little bit and don't end up being the exact size they're supposed to be. So my 7 by 11-inch cake is probably closer to a 6 by 10-inch, but that's quite a bit wider than we actually need. So I've marked off how wide I want my truck to be, which is roughly 4 inches, and we're just cutting off that excess from the side that we don't need, but we're going to save it because we're actually going to use it to build our cake up a little taller because it is still a little bit shorter than I need. So based on the stencil I've drawn for this cake, to keep it to scale, I need it to be approximately 6 inches tall. So with these 4 extra pieces added on top, it's almost exactly as tall as I need. So that worked out perfectly, and then to seal all 4 pieces together, I just used a thin coat of buttercream. So here's where it gets a little bit more difficult, guys, because it's time to start carving. So we're going to be following 2 stencils that I've created. One is the silhouette that will follow from front to back, and the other silhouette is the one we will follow for this side. So we're starting with front to back first, and we're just going to take a little bit off the top corner of each side and also a little bit from the bottom of each side as well. And I do recommend using a long serrated knife so it's a lot easier to keep everything nice and straight and even. Alright, now that we have the shape that runs from front to back, it's time to work on the side. So I'm going to grab my stencil that I've created of the side profile, and we're just going to stick that in place and carefully cut all the way around it using that same large serrated knife. So this part can be a little bit tricky. You want it to be the same on both sides, so you want everything to be nice and straight and even. Now, if you feel like you don't have the best eye and you want a little bit of help, you can make 2 copies of the template and pin them to both sides at the same time, so that way every cut you make is perfectly even. Now once you've cut out the shape of the stencil in its entirety, it's time to pull that stencil away and start cleaning up all those angles that were a little bit hard to see with a paper in the way. And we're also going to cut out some of the portions around the front of the truck that the stencil doesn't really let you see, so it definitely helps to have a picture for reference. Now once you've finished cleaning up all your angles and you're happy with how it looks and everything is nice and straight and even, it's time to add our buttercream. Now if you're not 100% happy with the shape of your cake, if your lines are a bit crooked and your angles aren't as perfect as you would like them to be, not to worry because we can build up certain parts with buttercream. So for this whole cake, I did use an offset spatula, but to make things even easier for you guys, I do recommend using a flexible smoother as they work great on shaped cakes like this. So now we're just going to get our cake off into the fridge to chill while we work on some wheels. So our tires are made out of Rice Krispie squares, and these are just store-bought, pre-made that I've formed by hand, and I've rolled out a small piece of black fondant to cover it up in the color that we need. Now once we have our tire covered in fondant, we're just going to trim the excess off the back, and I like to roll it around a little bit to adhere the fondant to the Rice Krispie treat. Now I'm taking my Dresden tool and I'm just making some little tire grooves all the way around on both sides. And now I'm just going to lay the tire down, and using my fondant rolling pin, we're going to give it a deep indentation, which I'm next going to fill with a small piece of round fondant, which I'm imprinting with a Russian piping tip. And this is so cool, guys. Wait till you see it. It looks just like a rim. How neat is that? Unfortunately, my Russian piping tips aren't numbered, so I can't share with you which one it was that I used, but there are so many different ones and they're all super cool looking, so I imagine anyone would really do. Now we're just cutting out the small sections where the tires are going to go before filling them in with buttercream, and now we're taking a nice thick black strip of fondant and going all the way around the bottom of the cake to give it the illusion that it is lifted off the ground, which is going to look super cool once we add some wheels. So now it's time to start covering our cake with fondant. We're going to be using the paneling technique, but after I got my first two panels on, something didn't seem right, and I realized I forgot to cut two whole sections of the cake away to elongate the cab of the truck. So I snipped that out right quick and covered it with buttercream, and now we can finish our paneling technique. So I've been doing this quite a while, and I'm able to actually cut out my panels by eye and just sort of shape them and trim them as I need. Now if you find this difficult and you need a little extra help, you can definitely use the stencils we used when we did the carving. But I do recommend that you cut your fondant slightly larger than the stencil to ensure your fondant is going to fit, because you can always cut away the little bits that you don't need. So adding larger pieces of fondant is slightly more difficult, so I do recommend working with smaller pieces. So it would most likely be helpful to cut your stencil into smaller sections so you know roughly how big to cut each piece. Now, once I finished paneling my cake, I wanted to work on fixing up the shape and really accentuating those lines, because we're going to be adding some strips of fondant to the sides. First, I'm going to add two vertical strips, one across the center line and one closer to the bottom. Then we're going to take four thicker strips, which are pretty close to 1 centimeter wide each, and we're just going to lay these horizontally across the sides, leaving about 1 inch of space in between each, giving it a more rugged, heavy-duty look. So now that we have that taken care of, we can start working on some of the smaller details. So I'm taking my Dresden veining tool and I'm just drawing a very simple door on each side of our trash truck cake. And I'm being very careful not to push too hard and go all the way through the fondant. Now I've cut two tiny little gray windows to finish off each one of those doors, and as you can see, I've also added a sun visor over the windshield, and I've also added a cap on the top of the cabin as well. And now it's time to add our tires. Look how cool they look, guys. It's really starting to come together. I absolutely love it, and I hope you guys think so too. So be sure to leave a like and a comment if you do. But hold up, guys, he's not done yet. We still have to give this cutie a base. So using the stencil that I've created, I'm going to mark off and cut out all the little shapes that I need. Then we're going to piece it all together and stick it onto our trash truck cake, giving him the perfect trash truck base. And I think that looks pretty great. And now you're just going to add all sorts of other little details, like little lights, the little hooks that he uses to grab his trash cans and dump them, his bumper, and look at those cute little teeth. And he's even got some eyebrows. How cute are they? I think he looks so sweet. And now for one last final touch, his signs on each side to make him complete. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I know he was a bit complex and there was quite a bit to do, but I hope I was able to break down my tutorial enough and make it easy enough for all of you to help guide you through. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, you know what to do. Leave me a big thumbs up and lots of love in that comment section too. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you receive a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, guys.